Hello and welcome to part 3 of the Johnny Blunder 4, the JB4000 series. When last I left you, we just finished up working on the neck and the chest area. So this time, I'd like to get in and edit the neck a little bit, like I mentioned in part 2, to kind of get that looking like a gear shift boot type of thing. And then we'll work on the spine and then the hips and see where we go from there. So now let's grab the head again. We'll tab into edit mode. And let's grab the bottom of this neck area and just kind of start manipulating it until it starts fitting on the torso. That right now is a separate model, but we'll get in and it'll be all one model once we get things situated. And I'll tell you what, I'd kind of like to square that off a little bit. So let's grab those edges there and drag this down, and up here as well, drag that out, maybe back a little bit, and let's grab that very back area and drag that back some too. Maybe increase our fall off of the proportion editing. Just select one of those, scroll the mouse wheel up. Okay, drag that back, and then tell you what, let's select that whole bottom edge there and that one as well, and scale that on the x-axis, and maybe drag it out a little further so it kind of tapers up into the neck. And now we're coming up off of that, so let's grab the edge there and just go ahead and drag it down to where it just blends into the torso. There we go. And just for stylistic, I'd like to make it a little skinnier the further it goes up. So in the middle here, let's select this guy here, all those guys, and that one as well, and that one. And then we'll Alt-S to scale along the normals, and then we'll scale up the fall off. I guess that's not going to work too well. So I'll tell you what, let's put our 3D cursor right there in the middle. And then make sure it's in the middle over here as well. There we go. I mentioned earlier that you can't really click the 3D cursor in the middle of something that's selected. But basically, you can't, like if I wanted to put the 3D cursor right here, I couldn't, because the Z-axis of the selection gimbal, is what that's called, would be in the way. So if I tried to click there, it would only try to move it. So now, hit period, so we're scaling around the 3D cursor there, and I can scale it like so. And now we have it a little bit more boot shaped. So it kind of thinned things out, so I'm gonna Control Comma, get those sharpened up again inside the rubbery areas. Like so, and then grab that one, scale that one up. And maybe just drag it down a little bit even as well. This is where it kind of gets stylistic. You can kind of do it however you like. Well, you know, you can do it. You can always do it however you like. This is just a guide. It's not the definitive source of information. Edge slide. I like this. One of my favorite tools, I think. Okay, so that's looking a little better. Let's get this guy drug down a little bit and add one more loop in there just for the sake of that. Maybe make this a little bit like a V-neck, like it's a part of his design, his clothing, sort of. Okay, I think that'll work. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Go ahead and save that. And now, like I said, we'll go and work on the spine. So before we do that, let's grab the chest again. And the way you add two things together, I'm going to go ahead and add it to the head and neck. And the way you do that is you select the first one you want, and then select the one you're wanting to merge it to. Hold down Shift and then right-click, and it selects both of them. And then you hit Control-J, and it joins them together into this whatever you selected last. So I'm joining the chest to the head. So I selected the chest first and then the head. As you can see, it joined them all into one mesh there. However, we've got a little bit of issue with the chest overlapping itself a little bit, so just select all the center loop there and just move it towards the middle, and it'll automatically pop into place. So there we go. All right. Now, what I was going to do is go ahead and select the bottom of the rib cage area, like so, and I guess this one as well. We're going to hit E to extrude and then scale it down. Turn off proportional editing so we just get just that we just extruded. And then extrude one more up into it on the Z-axis. Maybe scale it down just a bit. And there we go. So it's kind of like a concave, kind of like the head. Okay, so now, I'll tell you what, let's cheat a little bit here. Take a shortcut and select the whole neck, and we're going to Shift D to duplicate it and just drag it down. And we'll use this for the waist and spine also. Maybe scale it down just a bit though. Move it towards the center so it's more circular. And tell you what, no, I was going to flip it around backwards so it kind of had a slump to it, but I think I like it. He's got better posture this way, so let's go ahead and drag that up there, like so. And you can see it's a nice, easy shortcut to take, so you don't have to do all those circles and everything again. But let's make it a little bit bigger so it kind of fills that area a little bit better. Alto, go ahead and turn the proportional editing back on. Scale that on the X-axis, and we'll scroll our mouse wheel to get that fall off a little bit bigger. Scale that up some. And then maybe select these two edges here, faces. Scale those on the X-axis so it kind of flattens them out. We can drag those on the X-axis out until it kind of fills that area a little bit better. Maybe scale them on the Y-axis too. Okay. Who knows what all kinds of circuitry and wires and cables and things are inside this? No one does. That's why it's so beautiful. Because you can get away with not having to do all that extra hard work with all that extra detail. You can just mask it out, and no one will ever be the wiser. And maybe we'll add one loop. Oops, wrong place. There we go. Maybe scale that down. Okay, so that's looking good, but it's looking a little offset right here, in my opinion. So let's drag that down to even it out some. Maybe drag this one down as well. Maybe deselect that one. Okay, well, still a little bit too far, I think. So we'll maybe drag this one down. And let's add a little bit more curve to it. So let's select this loop here and this one. Oops, not that one. Not that one. Zoom in so we can get a better selection. There we go. And we'll just drag that, turn our fall off up really high. Scroll on my mouse wheel, scroll, scroll, scroll. Just bend that up to where he's got a bit better posture there for his spine. All right, I am liking that. That looks pretty good, I think. Okay, so we'll go ahead and save this. Now, one thing that's bugging me on the rib cage here is it looks nice and sharp at this corner, but as it starts going down, it smooths out a little bit. So I want to make that a little more sharp edge there. So I'll just select those two vertices and scale them together. So that makes them, and then control the fall off as I'm going. That makes them a little sharper on the edge there. Maybe we'll drag this one out a little bit so it doesn't taper as oddly. Okay. So now let's go ahead and do the hips, and we'll kind of do like we did on the neck. Just select the chest and Shift D to duplicate it down and take a shortcut. And now we're gonna flip it inside or upside down basically. So if we hit S Z -1, it'll pop it upside down. But it might, let's see. Sometimes it also messes up the normals when you do that. And as you can see, it kind of did. It's got them on the inside now. So if we hit 5, so we're in perspective view, and we zoom in here, you can see all those normals are pointing inside. And that's basically we turned it inside out when we did that. So the way to fix that is hit Control N, and that resets the normals and makes them consistent. So now they're all pointing out as they should be. Okay, so we can turn that back off. All right, so now go back into orthographic view. 5 on your numpad goes from perspective view with perspective, and hit it again, and it flattens everything out, so it's more grid-like. So okay, 3. Okay, now let's start editing this to look more like a pelvic area. So we'll grab these. And let's take a look at the concept. How did I basically a wide V shape, I guess, huh? So let's come in here, go to our front view, and let's grab the top edge, drag that out, then we'll grab this bottom part here, drag that up, and let's add a loop here in the middle, right there, and I'm going to deselect the top part of it, and then I'm going to go Control E on the bottom part, slide that edge over, just so we have a nice separation there in, I guess, the crotch groin area, and maybe drag these up to where we can get a better angle coming out for the thighs. Okay, so let's just start shaping this a little bit better. Tell you what we can probably do. Let's select that loop there and hit X, and we're going to delete the edge loop there. There we go. And then we'll grab the top of it and drag that down. Maybe expand that out just a bit. And shortly, we'll go ahead and extrude inside the thigh area like we did on the bottom of the rib cage, so we get a nice indentation there for when we start putting the thigh area. So now I'm going to get rid of this loop as well, and this one as well, just so there's not as much to mess with, because there's not a lot of detail that needs to be in this particular area. And let's move this up to where it's not as crinkled. There we go. Maybe we'll give him the semblance of a posterior. Just a little bit, just for stylistic sakes. Just a little bit. He's been working out after all, doing those squats. Alright, so about like that. And then maybe we'll fix up this. Just, you know what? We could probably just go ahead and get rid of that loop there. There we go. Yeah. And then maybe bring this front part down a little bit. Drag that down. And that one down as well. Grab the corners right there if I can. There we go. Drag those up a little. Drag this guy down a little bit. And then maybe these guys as well. As you know, if you've listened to my tutorials before, I tend to mumble sometimes or start to whisper, so that's how I do it. So I apologize if you don't like it. So just straighten this all out, get it looking a little smoother and prettier. Okay, so that almost works. Tell you what, let's try the old sculpt mode, see if we can't smooth some of that out a little bit further. Yeah. And maybe across the sides here. And let's get the grab sculpt tool, maybe drag that down. Give him a waist there. Oops. Maybe round out the front part a little bit more. This is being a pain right there, even though I need it for the edge there. Almost there. We've almost got it. Okay, I think that'll work for the front. Maybe bring it down a little further, actually. Bring these guys up. And then this guy up a little bit, too. And we can probably scale the... Well, right then I just hit everything, and I don't want to do that. I just want the hips. So we'll scale that on the y-axis a little bit, make it a little skinnier. And we can go ahead and drag it up here and start working on connecting it to the abdomen area. Make it a little smaller so it just fits right on there. So Looks like we need to be bigger on the y-axis. There we go. Okay, so now let's start editing the top edge there so we can get it up and cover the rubber boot for the spine, the abdomen, the abs. Well, if I can select the right one, there we go. And let's drag this top in here, like so. And then maybe drag this one out a little bit. Actually, tell you what, on this one, let's just grab the boot itself. Drag that top part in. And the corresponding ones down the way. And then we'll drag the corners of the pelvis in. Let's get that to fit like we want. Okay, we're getting there. It's almost there. Let's just kind of work on straightening it out some. Tell you what, something that might make things go a little faster is having to deal with all these sharp corners is kind of doubling up our workload a little bit. So let's get rid of those and we'll add them back in once we get things situated. So let's go ahead and get rid of this one as well. There we go. So now we have a few less things to deal with. And this one can probably go for now as well. There we go. All right, so that'll give us less hassle. Let's turn off the proportional editing for now. It's dragging. It's being more harm than good right now. Doing more harm than good, I guess, would be the proper thing to say. Okay, so you can see the corner of the rubber area is coming out there, so let's drag that a little bit to compensate, and then this one needs to come out, and this one comes to the side. Okay, so that fits a little bit better. Maybe one more tweak right there. Let's drag those in to flatten them out just a bit. Oops, wrong one. There we go. Okay. Almost there. Okay. So now let's go ahead and sharpen them back up. Let's go ahead and add those loops back in there. Like so, and then one back here, like so. All right, and then one so we can round out the back side a little bit. So maybe one around the middle as well. Bring both of those. Okay, that works, I think. And then the front edge cleaned up as well. Tell you what, let's select all of these guys here on the front there and W smooth, and maybe one more, a couple more. There we go. Let's drag these down. These are going up a little bit too high, I think. You can spend hours obviously tweaking a design and then sometimes end up going back to the way it was originally, but yeah, sometimes it's hard to get exactly what you want right away, so you got to spend hours on it. Okay, so we basically have the hips to my satisfaction. So let's go ahead and save this, and it's almost time for part 3 to be done, but before I go, let's add a place to put the arms and legs. So on the hips area, we're going to add a place there, and I'm going to hit E to extrude, and then scale it down a little bit, just like we did on the rib cage, and then bring it in, and we're going to extrude it in just a little bit further again, and scale it down some more. So there we go. So now we got a place to put our thighs. And then on the arms as well, let's grab right there, do the same thing, extrude once, scale it down just a bit, drag it in just a bit, extrude again. And there we go. Okay, so let's, before we go, real quick, let's clean, pardon me, let's clean this up a little. Vertex select, and let's make that a little more of a smooth curve rather than non-smooth like it is. Okay. Maybe drag these down just a bit so it's not as arced up in the back. Okay, I think that'll work. All right, so now once we get into part 4, we'll go ahead and add a little bit of rubber boot there on the joints for the arms coming out. But basically, let's look at the concept again. The top of the arm is basically just going to be a steel rod, essentially, with a connector on it for the piston of the forearm to connect to. So, like I said before in part 1, I'd like to have put a lot of pistons and things like that, but it's just going to get too complicated. So we'll just put pistons on the elbows and knees, like there in the design. And maybe we'll add some more stuff to the chest and things like that once we get further into it. But for now, I think that's going to be it for part 3. I like where this is going. Hopefully you guys are liking it too. I might edit some of the, like for now I'd like to move his body forward a little bit and have his head be a little bit further back proportionally, but we'll get to that later. So go ahead and save part 3, and I will catch you in part 4. Thanks for watching.